And welcome back. This is track 4 on the 31st hour. This is Lie Down by Saya Gray. And it's off her debut album, Saya. So this is thanks to Spotify. I had heard about Saya last year through some earworms that Spotify had surfaced for me, and then started following her because I was immediately captivated by her work. And then around December, I got a notification that said Saya Gray's first album will be released on February 21st of 2025. So I put a calendar item, because that's my birthday, and I was like, I'm listening to this album on my birthday. And I think, so I was in Sicily at the time, I downloaded the album, and then we drove across Sicily and probably spun the album 3, maybe 4 full times while we were driving, and it absolutely is, it's like you guys have heard me talk about Mac Miller and just like how creative, as well as like it's up there with a lot of the modern contemporary, my favorite albums that I'm not thinking of all the names of right now. So this one, the one I'm thinking of is, it's right there, and it's a Pink album. What the heck is his name? He's Tyler the Creator. And the album Igor, like it's this storyline that evolves throughout the album, and it's told both, I think, Mac Miller and Saya Gray and Tyler the Creator with those albums that I'm thinking of. They cross over genres. Like there's some of this album with Saya Gray that is folk and country, and then some of it that is, like electronic, and there are these moments that are just absolutely theatrical and orchestral. It's incredible. I just love the album so much. I actually wrote her on her Instagram and said, thank you for my birthday gift. And she didn't get back to me, but I'm sure she's got bigger fish to fry than little old me. But it was fun to think and feel like this was a gift for my birthday this year. This particular track is the final track on the album, and similar to Mac Miller's "So It Goes," where there's this the way the song ends, it crescendos into this kind of ambient soundscape that feels a little bit like evolving or ascending, and I really like that about it. It's partly why I put it on this album. On this playlist. Part of it was it's the end of this story, this sort of saga that she's going through with lovers, but also it's with the music industry as a whole, and her whole backstory, where her dad was a trumpet player for big names like Aretha Franklin. She's been playing music all her life, and it's cool to see it coalesce into her own projects. She's been playing with other bands a lot, and so her this album is, I think, a landmark album. It probably will be my best album of 2025. So it's a little bit of a sneak peek here. It felt perfect for 31st hour, and I'm happy to introduce it to you guys. I'm curious to hear what you guys thought about it. Grant, let's go to you first.
Well, I'm always a fan of the Tiny Desk. I mean, to have that be how I was exposed to Saya is a gift. To hear your story about how it was released on your birthday, that's super cool. And to hear you were driving around Sicily listening to it. Driving around listening to albums is a thing, like that is a way to experience music. And happy that this is kind of that intro to you as well. For me, it's the intro to the Tiny Desk, and I had heard the Spotify version, so I listened to the Spotify version, and then we posted videos later that we intend to have on that. And what was interesting, the thing that stood out to me is it sounded like kind of Knuckles as the percussion, and then when you see it on the Tiny Desk and you see him clapping as the percussion, I was like, that's super cool. And like they're into it, like her and the background singers are like, yep, it's this. And that was really kind of energetic and exciting. Great lyrics in there, and the part that I really loved, the ending flow kind of is pulled apart in a great way to just kind of expand it, and how she's singing something about like she can look like me, she won't feel like me, but the background singers are singing something different on top, and it's like layered, but then it all comes together at a point later on, like towards that end where I can make the dust turn to sparkle. Like, to me, there's this beauty in music where it's not disjointed, but multiple things happening, and then they kind of coalesce into one. And I felt like her and the band achieved that on this song in a way that's just like again, like to me, like a cloud parting and the sun kind of peeking through kind of moment. Very cool to hear. I highly recommend people who are not on YouTube right now to go check out her Tiny Desk. Well worth your listen. And again, always a fan that NPR brings those kind of alternate versions. I want to listen to the whole album, buddy, and glad to hear that it's up there on your list. We still got, what, like 6, 7, 9 months before the end of the year to figure out, so we'll see if it hangs on.
Plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Well, it's fun to hear y'all talk about it. This song landed behind Guster on purpose. It felt... Sometimes I don't want to talk in between the songs. I just want you to play song 3 and go straight to song 4. So the way to do that is on the Spotify playlist, or just to click from the Guster video into the Saya Gray. But I love the way it transitioned, and it actually feels very musically similar to go through from Guster to this song. So much to like here, and you two called a lot of it out. That layered vocal outro is, I mean, that part's amazing. And I love the interplay between the background vocalists and the lead. I love the way the lines change, and there's just such a depth of emotion and feeling, but also kind of a wondering. Not a wandering, like I don't know where I'm going, but a wondering, meaning, just where do I stand and what's going to happen next, and just the uncertainty of it. And in the outro, at least on the studio version, has this, it's almost like an underwater feel. It's almost kind of a bubbly kind of way that feels underwater, and then it goes a bit berserk in kind of a fluttery way. It's so slick, and I think that that bubbly underwater part just, I think, really tapped into the way it can feel when you don't know, when there's uncertainty and you don't know where you stand with someone, and so it's kind of like I feel underwater with my despair, but then I fly away, and I just think that musical construction of a feeling is something that I just admire so much. I don't really know how people do that, but I think it's incredible when they do. In a lot of ways, it's kind of a simple song. Like, some of the song parts are simple, but they come together in such an interesting way. Even kind of the clicky backbeat, at least on the studio version, it's just so interesting. The shimmery guitars. Good stuff all around. I can see why you like it, Brett. And this was a really interesting track. The cover art's really interesting. So much to like here. So it's a new artist for me, and I enjoyed hearing it.
Yeah, I think that she's one to look out for. On this album alone, she told a story on Q with Tom Power, which I had never heard of before. I don't know if you guys know of Tom Power. Apparently he interviews musicians on a podcast on YouTube. And he interviewed Saya, and she's fairly reclusive. Like, she talks a little bit about how, like, it's not her vibe to be interviewing and to be out in the public eye and all that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of precious to actually get that time. And that's partly why I chose the Tiny Desk performance, because again, like, her presence feels like it's part of the art. Yes, the studio is interesting, and I'm very connected with this album in terms of, like, it being on my birthday and just the way that I have consumed it and looked forward to it, and now just how much I love it and what you guys have talked about. But also, to that point, Sean, there's this story that Tom pulls out of her about her engineer in the studio said that he had never seen so many stems for songs. And then she said that there were over 400 single tracks that she brought in as stems that are all layered on top of each other. Like the computer's processing all of those different sounds. And so it sounds complex, I think, because it is quite complex. Like she talks a little bit about how she'll go find a sound, or she'll make a sound, record it, and then she doesn't know exactly if it's going to be for which song, but then she ends up loving this like layering effect of putting it all together. And so the fact that you're hearing that is definitely one of the things that I love about bringing music to you guys, because I get to learn the some of what's happening to your ears, and now I listen differently. So really cool. Love that you guys loved it, and I'm very excited about her. Excited to see where the career goes from here, and I love tracking an artist who's like, you can't put me in a genre, you can't put me in a box. I'm gonna make music that feels and sounds the way I want it to make. It's not gonna like follow some recipe. She's definitely had her issues with record labels. That's what her first full-length album, why it's called 19 Masters, is because there was a conflict between the record label and her and those 19 tracks that was gonna be a record. It was going to be an album release, and instead she pulled all of them back from the project, and that's why she released them basically as a mixtape, as the master songs, 19 individual songs. So anyway, I could go on and on. Watch Q with Tom Power. You'll get the gist. All right, here's "Lie Down" by Saya Gray off her debut album from February 21st, 2025. Here you go.